Our State of the U.S. segment tonight. Last night's special election in Georgia's 6th congressional district was a massive wake-up call for Democrats. They spent a record $23 million trying to make the race between Democrat Jon Ossoff and Republican Karen Handel a referendum on President Trump. But in the end, voters realized that all the Silicon Valley money and celebrity endorsements the Democrats touted would just mean putting Nancy Pelosi back in power, and nobody wants that. Watch.
Tonight I stand before you extraordinarily humbled and honored at the tremendous privilege and high responsibility that you and the people across the 6th District have given to me to represent you in the United States House of Representatives.
And we showed the world that in places where no one thought it was even possible to fight, we could fight. We showed them what courage and kindness and humility are capable of.
With me now, the digital director for Mitt Romney's presidential campaign, Justin Hart. Justin, thanks for being here.
Liz, good to be with you again.
Okay, those clips, I absolutely love watching Jon Ossoff. I mean, he's claiming some sort of moral victory here because I guess in November that seat was won by 23 percentage points and he only lost by 4. So somehow in his mind, that's a victory.
You know, Liz, last week I was on your show. We were talking about fake news. This week I'm on your show. We're talking about fake candidates. And that's really what Ossoff was. You know, he wasn't even living in the district, couldn't vote for himself. He's a 30-year-old, somewhat employed documentary filmmaker. 80% of all the contributions that came into his campaign came in from out of state. So this is someone that is inauthentic. And I think the one thing we learned from November, from the Trump election, whether you like his politics, whether you hate his politics, whether you like his style or hate his style, Trump is authentically Trump. And this is the most inauthentic person to run for Congress, as I've seen in the last few years. It's
right,
just
you forgot one of the merits on his resume, though, and that's he's pretty talented at reading the teleprompter. He's pretty talented at making those sort of feel sorry for me, I lost, but I tried fighting speeches. The other thing I think we can draw from this race is that polls that came from the mainstream media, not only were they wrong in November, they were very wrong here.
Yeah, again, they sample so small on the Republican side. I think the average sampling across all the polls that were used in the Georgia 6th District congressional race averaged about 22% of Republicans in that sample of the poll.
Right in the deep South.
Yeah, you're just basically, cruising for a bruising when it comes to pollsters, and they have died session after session now in these last few elections.
Right, ridiculous, as if that district in Georgia, of all places, would only be 22% Republican. I mean, they don't even try. They don't even try to be accurate. They don't even try to be unbiased here. Ossoff, though, his candidacy, this was the highest spending, the congressional race in history. They spent the most money of any race in history. He spent $23 million versus, I think it was something like $4 million Handel spent. He fundraised her by so much, and yet it wasn't even close.
Right, and the way that FEC reports work is we won't know the final numbers for another week or two here. I've seen some of the addendums that he placed in the last few days. So that number of 23 million is going to go up. And I think what happened here is the Democrats lost face in those few races that we saw before, one in Montana, one in a few other places, and they lost them. 0-3, they came in here and they put all their bets in. And when you look through as to where they spent the money on consultants in D.C., a media firm in Connecticut, a snail mail firm in Virginia. I mean, it was basically just a Beltway bandit type of thing to get a lot of money. You think that maybe some of that $23 million will go to the district? I'll tell you, not a lot of it will.
No, and this is what's wrong with Democratic candidates. I was saying this earlier. This is why America rejected Hillary Clinton, too, because these Democrats are so out of touch. I mean, Ossoff is a perfect example because he lives outside the district and all of his donors came from outside the district. So that helps us wrap him up in a nice little package. But they're so out of touch that they think they can come from the outside, come into a district, the 6th district in Georgia, and tell the people there how to live their lives better than the people can determine it themselves. Nobody of any political stripe wants the government to be bossing them around, patting them on the head and saying, we know better for you than you know for yourself.
That's exactly right. I talked to a few friends of mine who who live just outside the district, they're not even represented in there, and they were trailed into by people from faraway lands who are coming to Georgia to tell them how to vote. And it just went off very, very, very poorly there. Last night, I was told there at Ossoff headquarters, where they're planning on a great victory party, the chant started going up, "Not my Congresswoman, not my Congresswoman."
Gosh.
Ironically, Ossoff could look over the audience and he could honestly say, since he doesn't live in the district, "Not my Congresswoman."
Right, and what they really should have done is they should have brought that glass ceiling that Hillary Clinton had at her campaign headquarters in New York on Election Day. They should have brought that down for Karen Handel, because she's the first Republican woman ever elected to the House of Representatives. That is quite an achievement, and they didn't say one word about that. Justin, we're almost out of time, but I want to bring something else up. And I never thought, by the way, that this special election was a referendum on Trump. I don't think special elections generally reflect how the midterms go or what the results in the midterms, because it's too far away. But this should signal Republicans in Congress that they don't have to be centrist, that Trump is not a liability. In fact, using his name isn't going to cost them their seats. Being establishment is going to cost them their seats. They should go ahead and get on board with Trump's conservative agenda, because that's what people want.
They should. Now, the one thing that came out of that debate, this congressional campaign, is that Ossoff had a lot of low donors. So we see that there is the fermentation of some interesting things that are happening on the groundswell, but until the Democrats really get their heads around it, it's going nowhere. Republicans should put their feet in the ground and stand on their firm footing to make it through the midterms here, and they'll do fine.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, I hope Democrats keep up with this strategy, because as long as they keep it up, they're going to keep losing. And the longer they keep losing, the better it is for our country. Justin, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Liz.